All right, let's get right into a story that absolutely captivated a country and ended up setting a legal precedent that is still talked about today. This is the story of the box and Kuwait's very first execution. So picture this. The year is 1962. You have to remember, Kuwait had only just gained its independence from Britain, like the year before. The whole country was basically finding its feet, forging a new identity, and with it, a brand new legal system. And this case, well, it was about to become that new system's first major test. It was a crime so shocking, it would force this young nation to face the ultimate question of life and death. But before any of that, before the courtroom drama and the historic verdict, it all kicked off with a really simple but deeply unsettling discovery on the side of a road. Just a locked metal box left in the desert. The big question was, what in the world was inside it? So our story begins right there, with that discovery of a mysterious box in the middle of the desert. It's about 7 in the morning. 4 policemen are just heading home after a long shift, and they see something weird. A big, heavy-looking metal chest just sitting there in this empty, dusty lot. I mean, it's totally out of place, right? So of course they had to go check it out. The box was so heavy, they couldn't even lift it. So they decided to just break the lock right then and there. And what they found inside was absolutely horrifying. It was the body of a large man, badly swollen and disfigured by the desert heat. And the smell? Well, you can only imagine. In an instant, their routine drive home turned into a full-blown murder investigation. Okay, so now they have a body, but no name, no clues, nothing. The police had to start from square one. And their next move was a search for a missing brother. Now, at first, the investigation was just hitting one brick wall after another. There were 0 witnesses. They even brought in the famous police dog, a canine named Az, but he couldn't pick up any scent trail. So they did the only thing they could. They sent out a bulletin to every single police station. And just like that, they got their first real break. A man had just filed a report about his missing brother. And the description? It was a perfect match. So let's get to know the key players in this whole tragic drama. First, you've got the victim, Zayed. He was a cook in the Kuwaiti army. The one who reported him missing, that was his younger brother, Kamas. Then we have Salem, an acquaintance from Oman. And finally, Zayed's wife. These 4 people, their lives were about to get tangled up in the worst way possible. But this is where things get really strange. When the police show photos of the body to Kamis, the brother, and to Zaid's wife, they both flat out deny it's him. They're insistent, like, nope, not him. So you have to ask yourself, why on earth would a man who just reported his brother missing and a wife whose husband is gone lie to the police about his identity? You know, those strange denials immediately put them on the police's radar. And under the intense pressure of questioning, the whole story started to crack, leading, finally, to a killer's confession. The investigators could tell something was seriously wrong. I mean, the wife wasn't even crying, and the brother was super defensive. So they separated them for interrogation, and pretty soon their stories just completely fell apart. And then it happened. Hamas broke down. He confessed that yes, the body in the box was his brother Zayed, and then he confessed to something so much worse. So Hamas gave them a motive. At first, it sounded like this twisted version of family honor. He claimed his coworkers were always mocking him, saying his brother's wife had a bad reputation. He said he pleaded with his brother Zayed to divorce her, to save the family name, but Zayed refused. And according to Hamas, that's what pushed him over the edge. And the details he gave in his confession were just chilling. He said he waited for his sister-in-law to go to work. Then, as his brother Zayed was just getting up from the bed, Kamis shot him in the back. To stop him from screaming, he then slit his brother's throat. After that, he dragged the body and shoved it under the bed to wait for the wife to get home. So a confession about saving the family's honor. It almost seemed like case closed. But investigators kept digging, and they soon realized the real story was much darker. This wasn't about honor. This was a story of deadly betrayal. Yeah, the whole honor thing was a total lie. It was a cover story. The real motive? A secret, sordid affair. The investigation blew the lid off the whole thing. Zayed's wife was cheating on him with another man, and the 2 of them came up with a plan to get her husband out of the way for good. And right here, you can see just how different the lie was from the truth. On one side, you have Kamis's story, I was protecting our family's reputation. But the reality? A man named Salem, the wife's lover, had been manipulating Kamis, poisoning his mind, and pushing him to kill his own brother so that they could be together. And the way they tried to cover it up just shows how cold and calculated the whole thing was. Salem, the lover, actually went out and bought the metal box, but get this, it was too small. So Khamis and the wife did something truly unthinkable. They broke Zayed's spine just to make the body fit inside. Salem then hired some unsuspecting guy with a van, and the three of them, the brother, the wife, and the lover, drove out to that deserted lot and just dumped the box. But I think nothing captures the pure, cold-hearted nature of this crime better than the wife's reaction. When Kamis told her that he had just murdered her husband, her response wasn't shock, it wasn't grief, it was just this chillingly calm statement: "He is your brother. You are free to do with him as you please." Wow. And all of this brings us to the final, dramatic chapter in this story, and a historic moment for Kuwait's new justice system, its very first death sentence. With confessions from all three, the court handed down its verdict. For being the one who actually committed the murder, Karimis was sentenced to death by hanging. Salem, the man who instigated the whole plot, also got a death sentence at first, but it was later reduced to life in prison. And the wife, the accomplice in her own husband's murder, she was also sentenced to life behind bars. But the story doesn't quite end there. On the day of his execution, Hames was apparently in a state of complete and utter shock. Because, see, no one had actually been executed in modern Kuwait before. He genuinely thought it wasn't going to happen. But when he saw the gallows, he completely lost it. He panicked. In his last moments, he was just hysterical. He started screaming for the prison warden by his full name, shouting, "Abdulaziz Bek, I want to kiss you." It was this desperate, bizarre attempt to just delay the inevitable, to buy himself one more second of life. But it was too late. The sentence was carried out, marking a very grim first in Kuwait's history. And that leaves us with one last, really haunting thought. At the time he committed this murder, Kamis had a son who was just 1 year old. That little boy grew up knowing his father was executed for murdering his own uncle. Today, that man would be over 60 years old. And you just have to wonder, what kind of life did he have, living forever in the shadow of that box?